Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. I am sitting here in the great appellation of Carneros, and I am with Fred Cline, one of my super duper mentors. We are inside of a train, you guys. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but we are sitting here. There are people outside. They're all celebrating the amazing accomplishments of the Rhone varieties. This is the Rhone Rangers organization that's honoring Fred right now, today, here at Cline Winery. And the most important thing for me is this man has been a great educator for me too. And this wine that we're tasting right here is part of it. This is the Ancient Vines Cline Mouvedre. Mouvedre? What's that, Chris? Oh, well, guess who taught me that? This man right here. So it's an actual interesting story. You really started back in 1982. What got you fascinated by wines? And let me say this. It was 1989 that they moved here to Carneros, right here below Sonoma. We're just a few miles south of Sonoma, very close to the racetrack, actually, between the two. And you actually were from Contra, Costa County. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was from Contra Costa County, but even before that, I was from Southern California.
Okay.
I moved up to Oakley, which is near Antioch.
Yep.
And it's right on the Delta, right where a lot of sand drifts had moved in there, and right next to where the San Joaquin and the Sacramento rivers meet. And what was interesting there was vines there that were planted when I started in 1982 making wines commercially. These vines were already 80 years old, and it was just amazing.
A lot of people got to know these vines because of Zinfandel, and you have great, your heritage goes back to Zinfandel. You were very ahead of the game there with the ZAP organization, which is the Zinfandel Advocates and Producers, and the Rhone, the amazing explosion of the interest in the Rhone varieties. We go back to the history of the Rhone varieties. A lot of this stuff started in Spain, actually. When you go back to Garnacha and Mouvedre, Monastral in Spain.
They also called it Mataro.
Mataro, right. Yeah. So if you know Mataro, then you know your Mouvedre. So it's a very interesting grape, and to be really honest, we have Tablas Creek right out here. That's the main grape that they love in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. But the main, when you really look at Châteauneuf-du-Pape region of France, it's really Grenache that everyone thinks about. And that did come from Spain as well. But we started to learn a lot about these grapes. And here we are in Carneros. You moved here in 1989. You and your wife purchased 300 acres right down here. This was an old farm. Tell us a little bit about what it looked like in the old days.
It looked like there was very few trees.
Yep.
There was the eucalyptus trees, and there's still the eucalyptus trees, but there was nothing on the land. Nothing was planted out there. It was all just dry grass, and they ran cattle and horses out there. This was a horse farm, which was interesting in one sense that when we first saw it, it was a bank-owned property. The bank owned it, and so we were looking at that because that means generally you can get it at a better price. Well, it turns out my wife remembered this property, and she grew up in Marin County, and she used to keep her horse here when it was the horse property. And so she knew it somewhat, but she said the owners would never let us get close to the house, which is what we were looking for a house because she was pregnant with our second child.
Okay.
And she was really the breadwinner at the time, and so she said, I'm not commuting from Martinez, where we split it, because I would go to Oakley and she would go to Marin. So we ended up buying this, and we got a relatively good deal because of the timing and the bank owning it, and we when that happened, it was pretty much off to the races because we had a lot of work to do.
Yes,
I had a vision of what we expected here.
And when you came here, you brought the idea, you brought some grape varieties that you'd been working with before. Mouvedre, Carignan, another great grape variety. But you, to me, were the real one that kind of solved the mystery of what else can we plant in Carneros. Right now, it's about 4 o'clock, and this wind is kicking in, and it does not stop. So you think about Pinot Noir, no brainer to plant here. But Cabernet zone, not really there. Syrah, on the other hand, is one of the only grapes in the world that can grow in hot and cool climate conditions. And who did I find this out from? This man right here. What made you so brave to plant Syrah here back in the early 90s?
Well, because I was already in the Rhone Rangers. I mean, we were making wines that, and I didn't have a lot of Syrah, so I wanted to get Syrah and grow it. And I wasn't scared of it because I lived here. I knew what the heat was like every day, and I was very happy with the heat.
Oh yeah, we'll have some Mouvedre, of course. I'm going to show you the Syrah because we should be tasting some Syrah too. And this is the great Syrah from here on the estate. This is really something that, you know, I wrote an article back in 2003 on cool climate Syrah. It was the first article really written about cool climate Syrah, and it was for, I believe, Wine Business Monthly. And since then, everyone has been trying these kinds of things. And it really does work, but you were a pioneer of this, and you were a pioneer of this, you know, the amazing Rhone Rangers organization. We saw another one out there, Randall Graham. Right. We got to give Bonnie Doon a lot of credit.
He was my first customer on Mouvedre grapes from Contra Costa.
Yeah. So how much property did the family own in Contra Costa at that point, or just through the years? You know?
They didn't own vineyards. I leased vineyards,
okay.
And then I eventually was able to buy some vineyards out there. But my grandfather made wine for the family use, and when the Larkspur came around, it really hit his vineyards. So he was buying grapes to make his wine. And back then, you could only make 200 gallons legally, especially during Prohibition.
Yeah. You know, during Prohibition, I mean, Zinfandel was the big deal, and you know, we've gone. Zinfandel was the proving grape that California we could grow red grapes and be successful. But you know, this new anchor, Tablas Creek out here, helped us a lot. Bonnie Doon helped us a lot with their a couple of their wines. You really were focused on, when you came here, you were focused on Mouvedre. You had, you know, Carignan as a blender, Syrah, but you also were really into white grapes too. And that's something that Viognier, Roussanne, and Marsanne, another set of varieties there that are very important from the Rhone Valley of France. And if you don't know where the Rhone Valley is, it's below Burgundy, but it actually is a very interesting area where the water comes out of the mountains from the Alps and comes from the Alps and then dips down. It goes right through the valley. It's very different kinds of, you know, we talk about appellations here in California, but I mean, in the north, it is rocky as you can ever find an area in the world. And the south, it's more about the river and how those big pebbles are there, and you feel like you're going to sprain your ankle every time you look at the vineyard. But it's just different. And here you come to Carneros with a vision of doing this. What has been the benefit of being here in Carneros?
Well, to tell you the truth, it wasn't a lot of research that we did. It was pretty much the mechanics of where we were. This was the right place for me to get to Oakley, but it also had structures here that I knew I could turn into a winery. It had the growth potential for us, and when we moved here, Nancy was pregnant with our second child, and we ended up having 7 children.
Yeah. Children matter.
Yeah.
Hashtag children matter, especially Cline Family Wine.
Yeah. And so it was, but I knew that there was enough heat here, and I didn't really care. I had to you have to do the experiment. So if it could have not worked, then it wouldn't have worked. But we ended up planting the Syrah and Viognier and Marsanne, Roussanne, and we had some interesting things happen though during that. And one was, it's all right if I tell this story.
Yeah. Tell us. One
was that we planted quite a bit of Syrah, and we had more than we could sell when we thought we could sell at that time. And I started talking to some of my fellow vintners around this area, and one, I won't mention the name, but he said, there's no way I'm going to buy it. You can't grow Syrah in Carneros. And I go, all right, well, that's fine. And then about a month later, the Sonoma Harvest Festival, which is a big thing in Sonoma.
It was some fun times that we had together at the Sonoma Harvest Festival, for sure.
And the funniest thing about that was, it was about a month later that he said he didn't want any, that I said, well, I said, fine, we're going to do whatever. And then during the Harvest Festival, we had entered one of the Syrahs we made, and it came back saying that that we won the Grand Sweepstakes Award, plus it was the gold medal of the Syrah.
Yeah. So think about this. You guys hear me talk about judging wines and stuff at all these competitions. The Sonoma County Harvest Fair is a big deal. When someone wins, everyone shows respect to that person and thinks differently about those varieties, especially if it's something they don't know. And that's exactly what you did. You made a difference, and the judges got it. Other people got it because of that, but you were a pioneer.
Well, and the buyers of I had buyers call me immediately. Can we buy a pallet of that? And the players, the good guys. I mean, they're all good guys, and they out there that are buyers, and they are, they are in tune, and they want to be in tune. But the guy, the vintner that I'd offered the grapes to, called me and said, "Oh yeah, I think I would like some of those grapes." And I go, "I'm sorry, they're already sold."
Yeah, they're already sold. Just to go back on time, we got to speed up because we got to get back out there and honor all the Rhone Rangers that are here today and have more fun out there tasting these wines. But you brought a fun wine up that we're going to taste right now, and this is Viognier from 1999, you guys. And you look at red wines, oh yeah, they can age, oh yeah, they're so good, and especially if you know anything about the Rhone region of France, and there's the most amazing wines that I've ever tasted. Some of them are from the Rhone region of France, and we got to give some credit to Hospice de Rhone and some of these other places, the other events that happen each year. But this one is actually the Viognier from 1999, and I tasted it earlier, and you've tasted it. It is amazing. It's just a different. It has all the the flavor of a Viognier. Obviously, it's got some more age on it, but it is beautiful, and the nose is still there. They're just dried apricots now. They're not. They're not like they were when they were like just the fresh apricots that were just picked. But what made you so enamored by the whites?
Well, I loved them. Number one, and number two, I didn't have Viognier, and I had to get this. It wasn't easy to find cuttings of it. Yeah. And I finally found cuttings from Randall.
Yep, Randall Graham.
And
very responsible.
He was not very happy to have to sell me any cuttings, and I said, "Look, I really need them." And he finally relented. And of course, he was buying more bread from us, so he knew the quid pro quo was out there.
Yeah.
But, and I like Randall. He's been a great friend for us.
So this is, besides being in this train right here, you guys, this is on the property at Cline Cellars, and you can come here and you can look at it, and it's just an amazing piece of property here. I will say one thing about this train, the caboose back there. When I was a sommelier at the Lodge at Sonoma back in the early 2000s, I would get a call from Fred, and he'd say, "Chris, we'll do Friday again," and that meant I'd come and taste wines blind with him. Charlie Signolettis, his winemaker back in the old days. Love you, Charlie.
Yeah.
Bob, and a few other guests that would come. But I was here all the time, and we would be in this train, and we would be tasting not only the interesting wines from the Rhone Valley, but also Italian wines, because you do have a passion for Italian wines. Mm-hmm. And that eventually led to what is across the street, which is Jacuzzi Family Winery. And that's an amazing thing that you did to truly teach me, besides, enlightening me about these great Rhone varieties. You also are an educator in many ways, and I think that's why he should be honored, which he is being honored today, by the Rhone Rangers. But I want to honor him by having him on my show, because this man meant a lot to me in my life, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me and this whole, Sonoma Valley is a great area to come and visit, and Carneros is a great area to come and visit because of this man. Contra Costa County, when you drive by what's left of those old vines, you say, like, a person that helped preserve the heritage of those vines is right here. You are.
We actually moved some of those old vines for the city of Oakley because someone wanted to develop a piece of property, and they go, well, you can do it, but you have to replant this one area. And I go, and they said, will you guys help us? And we did. So, and then we actually leased back the vines from the city. Well, for not much, but the city of Oakley. There wasn't a city when I lived there. It's now a city, but yeah, it was fun. It's always good to be a participant in everything you can.
Yeah, and you also have done so much for just the community here. Right back in front of us here is a place where models of the missions of California are located that were put on this property that I've brought my son to. And you've done so much for, like, the project that we did together called Wine Guy Unplugged, which was an amazing. It should have been on TV, but it didn't get on TV. But the actors were awesome. A lot of people that you would know.
They might refresh it.
I know. I'm thinking we should,
work.
Fred.
That was fun.
I think we're going to talk more detail over some wines in a few minutes.
Posters of them.
Me too. And he's an amazing guy, Anthony.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for you guys for being here, and I just want you guys to remember how much Cline Winery means to me and how much these wines are important to all of us, especially people that are in love with the Rhone varieties and where we've come today. And that's the Rhone Rangers. Please support them, RhoneRangers.org. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, Fred.
Thank you.
Definitely. Cheers.